Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
For background, we choose to make a study on food waste management in the cafeteria hostel of Polytechnic Sultan IDRIS. This case study is done in group, starting from the planning stage, implementation of the study, analyze the result and scientific reporting under the guidance of our supervisors to develop the potential of students by using knowledge and skills in their respective fields. Okay, this study was conducted in the cafeteria on Kamsi because we have identified some problems that arise due to waste in the cafeteria. Survey was conducted to solve the problem that arise due to the pile of food waste in the cafeteria, such as presence of many cat roaming in the cafe area and the unpleasant smell of food crowd.
So for the next is a problem statement for our final year project. That is food waste management in cafeteria at Polytechnic Sultan IDRIS. They have 3 problem statements that we generate. So the first is increasing the quantity of food waste is produced in the cafeteria. So the second, the increasing accumulation of food waste leads to the production of leachate around the cafeteria bin area. So for the third, there are many pets such as flies, rats roaming at the cafeteria that cause the transmission of infections.
Research objective. First, to determine level awareness of customers at the Cafeteria Kamsi Polytechnic Sultan IDRIS on food waste management. 2. To identify whether customers know about the impact of uncontrolled food waste. Third, to design a system of food waste management. And lastly is to know, to determine the knowledge of food waste as innovation project.
Okay, for scope of study, the process carried out include the waste generation, storage method and delivery of waste into the landfills. The study focused on customer and food vendors in the cafeteria of Polytechnic Sultan IDRIS. The method of implementation carried out was online due to the constraints of COVID-19 pandemic problem.
So for the last topic, for topic 1, that's mean the introduction, food waste management in the cafeteria at Polytechnic Sultan Malaysia. So the last topic is significance of study. The first, the important in food waste management is to create awareness among students in terms of mental and physical. So the second, the main purpose of ensure the reduction of waste at the cafeteria. The third, the purpose to alignment the student to buy food according to daily needs and also the right quantity according to the guidelines of balanced eating for daily. And the last, for significance of study, the community needs to be aware of disposal of food waste to avoid the increasing and the also pollution to environment.
For literature review from Chen and others 2017, food waste management is waste edible material happen a considerable component of the world's edible material scheme challenge. Food waste can be described as all succulent edible material causes for human living but left remaining and they rejected throughout the processing chain from the farm to warehouse separate way. Tybert and Tonge 2016 says other terms will happen usably changeably to a degree food division between offense and defense by waste and room of cooking food waste.
For our previous study, food waste can be described as all succulent edible material caused for human delivery but left remaining either rejected throughout the prevention change from farm to go separate ways. Nearly third of edible material presented for human consumption exists destructed or wasted everywhere. The amount happens about 1.3 billion tons per year. Food happens destructed or wasted during the whole of the supply chain from beginning production just before last household consumption.
The last topic for literature review is the conclusion. As a dyeable material, waste is biodegradable and recyclable. It happened regions that relevant organization or expert put more devote effort to something expand a dyeable material waste reduction and reuse program. So the next, the current person understanding of food waste running as organization, tactic and regulation fashionable. Different countries may be second-hand as preliminary model and fashionable our country.
Introduction of research methodology. First, implementation method is carried out using a questionnaire through the form. Next is the website method, which is easy to access and seen by users anywhere. In addition, it is to use a YouTube platform to be very effective platform for all the users, especially citizens of Sultan Idris Shah Polytechnic. The last method is by way of campaigning to all the residents of Sultan Idris Shah Polytechnic.
So this is our flow chart of methodology. And first, we generate the initial questionnaire to get and to identify the problem statement. After we got the problem statement by the initial questionnaire, we do the real questionnaire to spread for the respondent. And also, we do a campaign, make a video, YouTube, website, poster and also sticker. After we got the maximum respondent in our research, we do the data collection and also the data analysis.
For data collection method, we use questionnaire or survey forms. According to the standard collection guide in terms of respondent for the problem of food waste in Cafeteria Kamsi's Polytechnic Sultan Idris Shah, with this data can be collected easily to state that this problem exists and require more systematic management. For data collection, the study used a survey forms method that was made to be given to the customer of Polytechnic Sultan Idris Shah Cafeteria. This method used because of the pandemic COVID-19.
For the next is data analysis method. The student use KEJURUTERAAN and Morgan is the first level of analysis. It helps researchers summarize the data and find the pattern. And next, student also apply the qualitative and quantitative method in collecting the data of the survey. Okay. The next is the table of Craig and G. Morgan.
In this conclusion, the method that students use for this survey is questionnaire with Craig G. Morgan, YouTube, website platform and online campaigns due to the pandemic of COVID-19. This method is very suitable for this case.
Introduction of Chapter 4. This chapter presents the data and analysis from the study. Overall findings and analysis are presented in the form of tables, diagrams, and statements to enable important findings to be presented. Bringing the readers talks towards the picture. The findings of the study are based on the objective and question on this study. This chapter described as a whole about the study carried out.
For study findings, we use study type project. The findings of the study are related to the result of study conducted. It should contain analytical results that need to be reported systematically, clearly commented and interpreted well based on objective and research questions include response rate and the demographic profiles of respondents. Study findings can be reported in the forms of table, diagrams and interpretation which answer the research questions.
For general, the first question is gender. 2. Age. 3. Semester. 4. CGPA or HPM. And lastly is family income. Based on the graph age, respondents from the age of 20 years old are the highest. Next, respondents from the age of 18 years old are the second highest. In addition, respondents from age 19 years old are the third highest. Next, respondents from 21 years old are the fourth highest. Furthermore, respondents aged from 24 years old are the fifth highest. Next, respondents aged 20 years old are the sixth highest. Finally, respondents aged 23 and 25 years old and above are the lowest. So, difference between the highest and lowest number of respondents is about 41.6%. This is because students are more likely to answer the question from the 20 years old. Based on the graph on semester, the highest respondent is from semester 5. Next, the second highest respondent is from semester 1. In addition, the third highest respondent is from semester 2 and semester 3. Finally, the lowest respondent is from semester 4. So, the difference shows that the respondent from semester 5 is higher than the semester 4. This difference is about 36.8%. This is because semester 5 is a cafeteria customer who knows about food waste management. The difference between the highest and lowest is 38.8%. Highest respondent is from CGPA 3.5 to 4.0. Respondent who obtain CGPA 2.75 to 3.0 is the third highest. Finally, respondents who obtain a CGPA of 2.5 and below are the lowest. From the graph family income, the highest respondent is from B40. The difference between the highest and lowest is 70.4%. In the table below, the respondent from T20 family income is the third highest.
This section includes all the questions that relate to awareness. All the questions that has answered by respondent will be measured and analyzed by the student. Each question will teach the student to measure how aware the respondent about food waste and the surrounding. Based on graph question 1, the total respondent that select strongly agree is 150 respondents, which is 60% from the whole 250 respondents. Next, the total respondent that select agree is 86 respondents, which is 34.4% from all respondents, and 30 respondents, which equivalent to 5.2%, have select neutral. Besides that, they have just one respondent that select less agree, and the percentage of respondent is 0.4. Finally, the difference between the highest and the lowest respondent based on this graph drastically show was 149 respondent or 59.6%. Based on graph question 2, they just have 3 bars. The total respondent that select strongly agree is 150 respondent, which is 60% from whole 250 respondents. Next, 12 respondent who equivalent to 4.4% have select neutral. Next, the respondent that select agree is 89 respondent or 35.6%. Finally, the difference between the highest and the lowest respondent based on this graph from strongly agree and neutral, which drastically show was 139 respondent or 55.6%. Based on graph question 3, the total respondent that select agree is 102 respondent, which is 40.8% from the whole 250 respondents. Next, the total respondent that select neutral is 85 respondent. Furthermore, 31 respondents, which equivalent to 12.4%, have select less agree. Besides that, they have 30 respondents that select less agree, and the percentage of the respondent is 12%. After that, they just have 2% respondents, which equal to 0.8% that select disagree in this section. Finally, the difference between the highest and the lowest respondent based on this graph was 40%. By referring the graph question number 4, the total respondent that select agree is 128 respondents, which is 51.2%. Next, the total that select strongly agree is 60 respondents, which is 24%. Furthermore, 57 respondents, which equivalent to 22.8%, have select neutral. Besides that, they just have 5 respondents that select less agree, and the percentage of the respondent is 2%. Finally, the difference between the highest and the lowest respondent based on this graph drastically show was 123 respondents or 49.2%. Based on the graph question number 7, the total respondent that select agree is 134 respondents, which is goes to 53.6%. The total respondent that select strongly agree is 76 respondents, which is 30.4% from all respondents. Furthermore, 35 respondents, which equivalent to 40%, have select neutral. Besides that, they just have 5 respondents that select less agree, and the percentage of the respondent is 2%. Finally, the difference between the highest and the lowest respondent based on this graph drastically show was 129 respondents or 51.6%. This section includes all the questions that relate to knowledge. All the questions that has answered by the respondent will be measured and analyzed by the student. This question also can make the student know the knowledge level of respondent easily. By referring the graph question 5, the total respondent that select agree is 138 respondents, which is 55.2% from whole 250 respondents. Next, the total respondent that select strongly agree is 59 respondents, which is 23.6% from all respondents. Otherwise, 52 respondents have select neutral. Besides that, they just have 1 respondent that select disagree, and the percentage of the respondent is 0.4%. Finally, the difference between the highest respondent and the lowest respondent based on this graph is drastically show was 137 respondents or 54.8%. Based on the graph question 6, the total respondent that select no is 110 respondent, which is 44% from the whole 250 respondents. Next, the total respondent that select less no is 52 respondent, which is 20.8% from all respondents. Furthermore, 49 respondents select maybe. Beside that, they have 35 respondents that select no very well. After that, they just have 4 respondents, which equal to 1.6% that select certainly did not know in the section. Finally, the difference between the highest respondent and the lowest respondent based on this graph shows 106 respondent or 42.4%. Based on the graph question 8, the total respondent that select less no is 134 respondent, which is 53.6%. Next, the total respondent that select maybe is 48 respondent, which is equivalent to 19.2%. Furthermore, 42 respondents have select no very well. Besides that, they just have 22 respondents that select less no. After that, they have just 4 respondents, which is equal to 1.6% that select totally did not know in this session. Finally, the difference between the highest and the lowest respondent based on this graph drastically show was 130 respondents or 52%. Based on the graph question 9, the total respondent that select no and less no is the same, which is 79 respondent, which that equivalent to 31.6%. Next, the total respondent that select maybe is 51 respondent, which is goes to 20.4%. Furthermore, 23 respondents have select no very well. Besides that, they just have 18% that said certainly did not know. The difference between the highest and the lowest respondent based on this graph was 24.4%. Based on the graph question 10, the total respondent that select agree is 133 respondent, which is 53.2%. Next, the total respondent that select neutral is 62. Furthermore, 51 respondent, which equivalent to 20.4%, have select strongly agree. Besides that, they just have 4 respondent that select disagree, and the percentage of the respondent is 1.6%. Finally, the difference between the highest and the lowest respondent based on this graph was 54.8%.
So for the next objective for data analysis and discussion, to determine the knowledge of food as innovation product. So we separate to a 3 phase. So the first is knowledge. So in terms of graph for knowledge, at first question is, did you know food waste can be innovative? So next, for question C, there are 2 characteristics of food waste, namely biodegradable material and non-biodegradable material. And last question for knowledge was, biodegradable material are source of decomposite material such as chicken and fish bone, fruits, skin, and even dried leaf. So next, the first graph for to determine the knowledge of food as innovation product for the knowledge. So according to the first question, the highest respondents select no was 130 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond certainly do not know was 4 respondent. For the second question, the highest respondent select no was 135 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond certainly do not know was 3 respondent. For the last question, for knowledge phase, for objective to determine the knowledge food as an innovation product, shows the high respondent select no was 151 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond certainly do not know was 2 respondent. So for the second phase is product. So question 5, did you know that the production of edible food such as fruit peel can also use as decoration at home? Question 8, disposable plate and spoon using biodegradable material sources are safe, measured as replacement for disposal container. Question 9, the increasing in food waste increase by day. Should food waste be made into a new product innovation for our use? Question 10, in rapidly evolving technology, should use the existing disposable be converted to food waste sources? So this is the graph for product. According to the first question, the highest respondent select no was 128 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond certainly do not know was 4 respondent. For the second question, in a product, next question is, the highest respondent select agree was 130 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond disagree was 2 respondent. For the third question, the higher respondent select reasonable was 150, and the lowest respondent who respond unfair was 2 respondents. For the last question for product was the highest respondent select reasonable, 124 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond unfair was 5 respondent. So for the last phase to determine food waste as innovation product is information. So question 2, producing product by using food waste is one of the measures to reduce food waste. Question 3, innovation of product from food waste can reduce substantial expense to build waste disposal site and waste disposal manpower. Question 4, conversion of artificial source of fertilizer made from food waste can prevent the composition of soil contaminant from chemical fertilizer. So this is the last graph for food as innovation product is information. Based on graph, for the first question for phase information show the highest respondent select agree was 142 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond disagree was 3 respondent. So for the second question is the highest respondent select agree 135 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond less agree was 3 respondent. And for the last question, the highest respondent select no was 138 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond certainly do not know was 2 respondent. So for the last data analysis and discussion for objective to design a system of food waste management at Cafeteria Polytechnic Sultan Malaysia. So we are separate to a 3 phase for this objective. So the first is knowledge. Question 1, separation of food waste is one of the initial process performed before being disposed of a waste disposal site. Question 7, in your opinion, the existing waste disposal area in cafeteria should be closed to avoid the effect of odor pollution that cause you to have less appetite to eat there. And the last, question 9, separation of food waste should be segregated according to the type of material that is decomposable and non-decomposable food. So this is first graph for the fourth objective. According to the graph above, for the first question in knowledge show the highest respondent select agree was 113 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond less agree was 1 respondent. For the next question, the highest respondent select agree was 117 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond disagree was 1 respondent. And for the last question for this graph, show the high respondent select agree was 119 respondent, and the lowest respondent select neutral was 32 respondent. So for the second phase for the fourth objective is application. Question 2, separation of food waste by category is very important process in food waste management. Question 3, with the advancement of technology today, the practice of food waste segregation needs to be applied to everyone so that the next process of food waste disposal become easier. Question 8, the use of food waste segregation system to manage food waste can also use on home as well as small premise. Question 10, according to the infographic such as video and also the sticker provided, should it help you in reducing food waste? So this is a graph for application. According to the graph for phase application separation system, the highest respondent select strongly agree was 112 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond less agree was 6 respondent. The second question, the highest respondent select strongly agree was 117 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond neutral was 28 respondent. For the third question, the highest respondent select agree was 124 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond disagree was 1 respondent. And for the last question was the highest respondent select agree was 36 respondent, and the lowest respondent who respond disagree was 1 respondent. So this is for the last phase in the fourth objective. This is information. Question 4, do you agree that waste management in cafeteria follows the proposed procedure? Question 5, the existing food waste management implement the process of segregation of food waste in the cafeteria. Question 6, in your opinion, who is responsible for the management of food waste? So this is the last graph for objective 4. Based on the graph, the phase information for the first question, the highest respondent choose agree 128 respondents, and the lowest respondent who answered disagree was 1 respondent. The second question, the highest respondent select agree was 127 respondent, and the lowest respondent whose answer disagree was 1 respondent. Finally, the last question, select student, was 175 respondent, and the last option, select food vendors, was 166 respondent.
Introduction for Chapter 5. Based on the study that was conducted in the Kamsi Cafeteria of Polytechnic Sultan Indonesia, students did find that there was an increase in food waste production. Students have to conduct an online assessment of the questionnaire and obtain specific information to achieve the desired objective. Next, students have obtained responses from 250 respondents who are currently in PSIS. From that amount, analytical data is produced that will show whether the objective are achieved or not.
For the conclusion and opinion. So for the conclusion, after implementing the campaign based on the information that has been collected, then the student have obtained the final data and determined whether the objective in this questionnaire were successfully achieved or not. All 4 objectives presented in the case study have been successfully achieved with reference and analytical data section. And the last, student can analyze data for customer awareness, uncontrolled food waste, separation system, and also innovation of food waste.
For opinion, through the study that carried out, it was found that the food waste disposal system in the cafeteria is irregular and not according to its own category. It looks like garbage plastic, food waste such as rice and chicken bones thrown in the same container. This will complicate the process of food waste segregation. Students suggest that the hostel management take the initiative to create a more organized and conducive garbage disposal system. With this system, it will facilitate the separation system of waste, and waste generated from the food waste can be used as organic fertilizer.
For limitation, there are some constraints when doing this case study is due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So, the questionnaire needs to be conducted in online. Student admission to college is also violate and can contribute to the data collected.